Good morning.
Good morning.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming to meet us today.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you a few words about our company first?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. This is our company. Do you have any questions?
Yes, you mentioned 2 markets you're going to enter next year. If you can expand a little bit more in detail on that.
Okay, good questions. Very good questions. Okay, I'll show you. Let's now talk about you. Please tell me about your career and achievements until now.
Yes, from where should I start?
As you prefer.
Okay. My name is Michael Gambardi, so I'm a graduate from the Harvard Business School. So I had a lot of offers after I graduated, but I decided to decline all of them. So I started to go for entrepreneurship first. So it gave me a good opportunity to understand how to run a business, how to get an entrepreneurship, but also importantly, to how to get an understanding how we run it from a financial perspective. Mm-hmm. And after that, I joined the company headquartered in Zurich, Accor Group, so an insurance company, very cross-global penetration, so in terms of 30 different countries, about 4,400 employees, 9.9 billion revenue, so again, Fortune 500 company. So I was the department head before I actually got promoted as a regional head. So I moved back to closer to the headquarters in London, and then later on I got headhunted as a CEO. So in Germany, so in Munich. So the company at that time was in a very poor shape. So I had to let go a lot of people. Was very difficult to get around the financial return. Kind of tough decisions to make, so it was very challenging.
Tough experience for a tough guy. Tell me about yourself then.
Well, you know, I'm just a regular guy. I love tennis, classical music, reading, but passion is sailing.
Really?
Yes.
Do you have a boat?
Yes, I have a boat. Beneteau Oceanic 30. You want to see?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, what a beauty!
Yes, I actually was just crossing over the Atlantic.
Really?
It was very challenging, but a very nice experience, very nice experience.
Okay, how was the weather?
Oh, it was, you can imagine, it was very bumpy.
Oh, yeah. But the ship is good.
Oh, yes, yeah, it's equipped for that, so, yes.
Okay, I have one more question for you.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, please, think and answer. How many tennis balls would fit into a Boeing 747?
That's the classic Google question.
Yeah, you know that one?
Yeah, I knew
okay. Then let me give you another one. Please listen and answer. 1.5 hens lays 1.5 eggs in 1.5 days. How many eggs will 2 hens lay within 3 days?
I think it's 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's a little bit bring some examples of the questions that you could formulate, because we mentioned that you should ask about the requirements and the competencies and so on. So let's just a little bit cover what type of questions, how should you compile the questions basically. Before we start, I want to show you 2 things, just because otherwise you don't understand the interview guide that I'm showing to you. First, Tõnis, do you want to make a couple of comments of Wisnio?
Yes,
Wisnio
what you see here is the hiring process on Wisnio platform. you can all try it out. If you go to wisnio.com and register, you can try it and see it there. But there is the steps of the hiring process, starting from position mapping, then it's shortlisting, where you can invite candidates and present them. Then it's interview and evaluate, which we look deeper into right now. And then you can compare the candidates. You can compare all the candidates you evaluated. And then when you select one, there is also an onboarding function. So according to our understanding, the end point of the hiring process is not when you have signed the contract with the candidate, but when the candidate is onboarded. So he or she is part of the team and works kind of in full capacity.
Okay, thank you. I will show you two things to explain where the information that we are now seeing comes from. So the last webinar, again, the video was in the link in the chat, and you can also find it in our YouTube. But last time we did this together. We made a head of marketing position mapping. So we have description, we have the key objectives, and we also have key requirements that we discussed through last time. So this will be the input basically for the interview guide that we are reviewing now. Other thing, try to cover it very quickly, is the candidate profile, because you're gonna see a couple of like evaluations and summaries of competencies, personality, and values, just to explain that it comes from the tests that the candidate did, and that's why we are seeing this information on the interview guide. Do you want to say a couple of words why competencies, personality, and values?
Yes, if we think of the hiring success, then we want people who are similar in values to those people they are going to work with. They're all going to work in a team, and we want them to be similar in values. And then, because this gives them trust, engagement, they like to be with those people, and they stay longer with an employer if their immediate team is similar in values for them. And then you need diversity in everything else, like in personality traits, in competencies, which gives the team like agility and potentially makes it high performing. So these are the values, and we want the candidates' values be similar to the team members' values.
Okay, now I'm gonna move it here. So go to the guide so we can a little bit discuss the questions. Even if you don't have access to this, I think just discussing it through how to ask, what to ask helps. So as you can see, the first one are the requirements. So I have a question. So let's say you have defined that you need to ask about the requirements. What is the best way, like how to compile a question? How to get the information if the person has this kind of ability or experience that he or she is saying that they have?
Mm-hmm. So like we see that the requirement here is a proven ability to drive customer acquisition, and the way to ask it is like I described in my lecture part just recently. Like, give me an example how you did this or that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So very concrete and no hypothetical situation.
Focus on a concrete question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What to do when you ask the question, but the answer is very vague? What should you do then?
You try to narrow it down for one concrete example. That's it. If the candidate starts to speaking generally, you say, like, just take one example and talk about this. When was the last time you did, or when was the best thing you achieved? Talk about this example.
So answers like just explaining what they think, how something has to be done, are not good, and you want very concrete. I did this, and etc.
They might have read it from a textbook, but you don't want to check whether they can read, but you want to know what they have done.
So what is the best way to evaluate if the candidate has competences? Can I ask, what are your top competences during the interview, or
this is the question.
A bad question?
This is the question you can translate into, please lie to me. But if you know what competencies you need, then you ask questions like this. For example, this accountability is a competence here. It's described by one sentence, and there are 2 questions prompted. This is the interview guide, which is generated automatically based on the position map what the hiring managers made. And now you have prompted 2 questions, and what we recommend you do is you just pick one of these and you ask the same question using more or less the same words, and you ask the same question from different final candidates. And then you rate who is better and not. And actually, if you listen what they are telling you, you understand very well who is better. If you scroll to the right hand a little bit, you have behavioral examples here. And these are the things which you listen in the answer of the candidate. The more of this is there in the answer, the more the better the candidate's level of this competency is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as a summary, first define the competencies, think through how you could ask about these competencies, and choose one question. Don't ask like different questions from different candidates, but ask the same questions so you could basically compare the results.
Yes.
Try diversity. So this is now the personality. I have one question, because as you can see, we can see here that, for example, if the person is more reserved or outgoing, when it comes to personality, and let's say people have access to personality test, should you use it to evaluate if the candidate is fit to the position? What I mean is, for example, let's say we're looking for a salesperson. Is it true that if the person is more outgoing or more extroverted, then they're a better salesperson?
No, this is not true. But this is a very typical stereotypical thinking, so that this person is low in extroversion, he's more or less reserved, so he is probably not good for the sales job. This is not true. There is no proof that extrovert people are better salespeople. And the only right way to how personality traits can be used in hiring situation is that you want that your team will be stronger with each person you add to the team. So you better add someone who is not similar to everyone else who are there already, but who brings some diversity in this, and diversity in the deep level sense in behavioral traits, not just sex or color. And yes, bearing in mind personality traits, you can actually use it in a wrong way. I had once a case where a candidate was refused based on her very high social traits. So he was very social person, and just someone of the decision makers reminded that, well, we had this kind of person, and he was very social, and he was not too demanding, demanding enough to other people. So they refused her based on this, which is absurd, of course, but this happens sometimes.
Okay. Can you remind, what is the use case of the personality insights then? Like for
the
what
personality insights can be used only to think of what kind of person would make this team stronger, and that means that if you bring different people, for example, this person here on this scale is very much different from everybody else in this team. So bringing in this kind of person into this team makes the team stronger. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And the last part then, the values. Do you want to say a couple of last words, like why should you think about the values alignment, why it's important?
It's like a very simple reason. If the person leaves early, if he doesn't stay with your company more than a year or 18 months, the main reason is that the person wasn't good fit with the other people he worked in the small team, and the usual thing is that the values were not aligned well. If values are aligned well, then people like to be there and they stay up to 4 times longer with this employer. gut feeling is the final thing here. We have the gut feeling as the last one, and gut feeling. If you rate your gut feeling, if you just close your eyes and you think of this person in this role, and then you put a rating from 1 to 5, indicating how you feel, how good this person might be. After you have done all these ratings according to all the criteria you have yourself specified for this position, then the gut feeling decision is more or less as good as all the summary of all the other ratings you have put there. But if you do it before, without this, then it's actually misleading. It might be based on something that, for example, I met Mirel, and it reminds me of someone I knew 30 years ago, and it's just I can't avoid thinking that, well, as she reminds me of this person, she is somehow similar to this person. And it might work both ways. Either I like this person very much, or I disliked it, and people kind of refuse or decline good candidates based on their gut feeling. And I just feel there is something wrong, and they even can't say what is the thing, what is wrong.
You can comment below what has been your worst interview question or a situation, and what are your favorite and most insightful questions to use during an interview.